What's going on, guys and girls? Welcome back to the channel. And today I kind of wanted to talk about a subject that's been floating around the internet if you've been on the photography side of YouTube. And the biggest thing is, what is the difference between a content creator and a photographer, and where do I stand at? So the first thing I kind of want to point out is just that there was, of course, a really big social media boom where people would post their photos that they took with their phones, photos that were posted to like accounts like Flickr and uh, Behance, I think is the app, and put them on Instagram to be able to get exposure in photography. And I mean, it just really took off. I mean, then of course, when you have people like Peter McKinnon posting bangers and making all these tutorials, and other people wanting to kind of gravitate to that to try to find a level of success in photography, the industry just kind of took off from there, from switching from actually studying what makes photography as an art form well known to getting clicks, getting likes, and things like that. And I kind of wanted to figure out where I was in all of that. Me personally, I was inspired by my pops, who was the family photographer, took photos for my uncle's church and all of like family functions. And seeing him and being inspired by that and being inspired by movies is what really called me to photography as an art form in a whole. And so that's really where I kind of got my start. And I really, of course, studied people like Peter McKinnon, studied videos from like Matty Poya, from Jessica Cabesi, from, all types of people who were photographers on YouTube to really, learn the basis for YouTube and I mean for photography. And a lot of it was that I, wanted to be great in photography. And there was not a lot of things in my area that really taught you how to grow your name in photography. And so, like I said, for me, I was self-taught. Now I did take classes from time to time when I was at Bethune-Cookman in college in Daytona Beach. I did take a photography class. I've taken photography workshops to help strengthen my understanding of photography. And then it became hours of practice, from going out on the streets with friends in Atlanta to learn street photography and to shoot and rinse and repeat, to finding models on Instagram groups and through other people that I knew who had been in the photography industry for a long time, to practice and be able to hone my skill as a photographer. And like I said, a lot of people, they didn't do that. A lot of people who got big on social media especially, they just follow the trends, rinse and repeat. And so a lot of them nowadays you don't see around that often. A lot of people they've either stopped, they got burnt out, they can't keep up with the trends, and people don't talk about them anymore because they created something that was meant for clicks and not something that was really long lasting. And it was a lot of trial and error. I mean, I could go into a lot of things that happened. My family for a long time didn't believe in this as a career, and some people still don't. But I've now gotten to a point where I'm managing 2 studios here in the Houston area. I'm doing photography daily. A lot of my income, my main source of income, comes from photography. And so that's a really big thing for me to say. And every day I get to create art. Every day I get to practice trial and error, go in, see what works, see what doesn't work, and be able to really understand photography as a business, the back end, and understand the art and what people gravitate to in the market. So let's really talk about the difference between being a content creator and being a photographer, because there is a difference. Yes, there are photographers who make content. There are content creators who do photography, but there's a clear difference between the both of them. And we're gonna start with content creators. So content creators are people who focus on, leads and conversions, and they focus on how to convert a like into a follow, what trends are happening right now, what type of things are going to get people to click on the video from the thumbnail, from the title. Those type of things are things they mainly focus on, and anything that they create for the video is really secondary. They want to take an idea and see how to translate that into virality to help boost their overall influence or name. And a photographer is always art first, always wanting to create something that is going to be long lasting, that has a solid foundation, and then the content is centered around the art after it's been created. So anytime I go out on the street, yes, at some point, I know I'm going to make a video about my street photography with a certain lens or a certain camera, but overall, my main thought process is going out, documenting the moments, being in the moment, and creating art that can really live longer than a video or than a post on Instagram or a reel on TikTok. You know, really creating something that I can put into a book, like the one behind me, which you might be able to see there, kind of over my shoulder, and products and prints and things like that that is going to exist forever and something that people want to put up and view in their homes. So that's really the biggest difference is intentionality. What is the overall intent of what you're doing? If your intent is to get views, you know, get likes, get followers, get subscribers, and that drives your overall, you know, motion for being on social media, then of course you're a content creator. But if you are a person who, whether you have the cameras rolling, whether you are, you know, working for a client or working for yourself, is to create something that is going to last a long time. That is what puts you into the realm of an artist and the realm of a photographer. And of course, I've been on both sides, and neither side is wrong in their approach. Neither side is wrong for what they're doing, but it is a clear thing to want to set up the difference. And having been on both sides, you get into, you know, your content creation where you are wanting to push out a lot of content. As you see, a lot of these social media gurus that tell you content is king. You got to push it out. You got to put it out. People got to see you. You got to be on it. You got to be on it. You got to be on it. And what that does is it dilutes your art because one, you're creating art to try to fulfill a imaginary deadline. You then find yourself burnt out and falling out of love with the art and the art form. And then you're only doing this to get likes. You're finding the simplest ideas in order to turn around content in order to get likes because that's the overall goal. You get views, get likes, and there's no intentionality to will this live longer than this video? Why am I creating this? What is bringing me to this? Is this actually an idea I even really love? Like, am I going to shoot this and then just throw it on the hard drive, forget about it, or leave it on the SD card, forget about it, or even delete the photos after I get done with the final product? And for all intents and purposes, that's not being a photographer. The other person is going out and they want to, you know, I want to create art. I want to take time. And even now, that's why for a while I haven't shot. It took me a long time to get back to posting on Instagram, on YouTube, and I try to be consistent on TikTok. And I have not been able to keep up with any of it because, again, I want to make sure that I have a real love for what I'm creating, what I'm putting out there, and make sure that it's intentional. I don't want to just create something just for the sake of creating. And another thing that kind of you run into is that you run into people that you technically you wouldn't really work with. I mean, from models, from working with other photographers for video ideas, and you realize when you take a step back that your visions didn't even really align. So there were a lot of times where I worked with some people, and not that they're bad people or that I don't like them. I just worked with people who we didn't have the same goal in mind. It was just, oh well, hey, we're doing a video, you should be in it. But they are, what were they really bringing to the video? What were they adding to the video? Did they add anything, or were they just there to fill up space because I needed them for this content idea? And so I really had to take a step back, slow down, relearn things, and that's why I don't really take people when they say, "Oh, I'm a master of photography. I'm master of photography." You can learn to master photography. You can be a master because art in general is an ever-learning process. As long as technology changes, as long as new things come out, you're always going to be learning, adapting, and taking in new processes to help you create better, faster, deeper meaning to the work that you're doing. And so that's a really big thing for me as I've been going through this journey to be able to separate, do I want to be a content creator first and then a photographer second, or do I want photography to lead and just make content around my photography? And that's where I think I'm at. I think I've arrived to a point to do shoots, do content that really speaks to me, that matters. And then I will formulate content around that if it fits. And if it doesn't, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, photography is what matters here on this channel. And of course, some videography, we'll get into that later, but mostly photography for the, for the purposes of this video. And of course, we kind of spoke about, like, what is a real photographer? Oh, I'm a real photographer. I'm a professional. I'm a professional photographer. And to let you know, like, it's not about the gear. It's not about how many likes you got, how many followers you got, how much, you spent on your last lens. It's none of that. It's all about, what do you know about photography, the rules, and how do you apply that consistently? I think that's the biggest thing too, is that a lot of people who study and practice photography and maybe call themselves photographers, they don't create the work consistently. It has to be consistent. Okay, you did a really great shoot. Great, can you do it again? Can you do it again at the same level? Can you do it again at the same level? Can you raise the level? Then can you do it again? It's all about repetition. Understanding the basis for photography, understanding how light works, understanding how shadows work, understanding how to shape light, how to mold it to do what you need it to do, and then being able to replicate that many, many, many times without fail. And that is what I believe makes you a photographer. Now, of course, there are a lot of varying opinions on what's a real photographer and what's not, but I'll leave that up to you all to decide down in the comments what makes a real photographer and what doesn't. And trust, as I'm saying this, like I said before, this is no shade to content creators, because again, we make content for the channel, right? So we're in that category as well. But if you're very surface level with it, if you got into this and you were new to photography, you're new to content creation, if you're going to call yourself a photographer, it has to be deeper than the likes. It has to be deeper than trying to get followers, trying to get subscribers, trying to make a name for yourself in the space on a social media platform. You have to really put real meaning, real work hours, real sweat behind your work in order for it to really stand in the photography space. And that's one thing that I, have learned over the years, and I'm still learning, because I'm not even at the deepest level of photography. I'm just at, if we was talking about a house, I just got to the door of the basement, pretty much. And there's 3 or 4 sub levels. We're in the mansion, you know what I'm saying? So content creation being the house itself, very, very, very shallow. There's no furniture in there. We're right at the door of the basement, and we still got to go down deeper. We got to go down deeper. So, it's a journey, just like anything else. And I think that your intentionality really tells you what side you land on. I think that as an artist, you should make your own voice. But if you're going to be in something, you're going to call yourself a part of something, you really got to ask yourself, how far are you willing to take this? How much time, how much effort, how much are you really going to put into something to be known as that? And a lot of people who are actually photographers don't really have to say that. You don't have to say it. If I go to a gym, I can pretty much probably point out the bodybuilder, because it's the consistency, the intentionality, the form, the way they walk, the way they talk, the things they're doing, the mannerisms, because they studied bodybuilding. And the same thing with a photographer. You know a photographer when you see one, somebody who really studies photography. They take in information, they learn, they adjust, they grow, they keep going. And so that's all I want to leave y'all with. Y'all let me know down below your feelings on this. What do you think makes a real photographer? And what do you think is the goal for somebody who is a photographer and wants to also be a content creator? I love y'all, man. I want to thank y'all so much for joining in. I'm gonna see y'all on the next one. Peace.